revealed in all sorts of fun releases on the iRacing service this past week. Got a couple of new oval dirt tracks, most notably Knoxville, Limaland we know is coming on the way, and the most notable one being, of course, the Red Bull Rallycross. But that said, it's all back to normal operating procedure here on the iRacing service, and that means some of the standard series that we know and love are still here and running. Welcome to week number 1 of the Skip Barber Formula 2000 Championship, live here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Randy Chinnett, Cam Walsh, who is stepping in for Mr. Alvin Yevas today, and Hugo Louis, bringing you all the action. Cam, we've seen these little Formula 2000 cars on some interesting circuits. We've seen them on some big tracks in the past, but we're sort of taking them to a place they sort of belong, a nice little American club style circuit.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. And yeah, Summit Point Motorsports Park is probably one of the best places to watch a Skip Barber race. These cars are absolutely fantastic. We see them in private series of world renown. And, well, it's good to see you, Randy. I mean, we missed you on Monday. We're not doing it anymore, but you know what? We'll be here on Friday. So, I mean, we got that to look forward to. I couldn't go all week without hearing your lovely voice, though, Randy.
Well, you went a couple weeks without hearing my voice, Mr. Hugo Lewis and Will Vincent was at my house. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, but that's okay. Whatever. But yeah, for those who are unaware of what Cam was referring to, for those who had noticed, our World of Outlaw Monday nights did not happen this Monday, and that's because we have changed the schedule a little bit. We're going to make that a longer show. It's going to be a better show as well because we got the heat racing involved. So in addition to the 410 World of Outlaw sprint cars that'll be happening at the end of the night on Fridays, that will precede it. The first event will be the Global Rallycross event. So there's going to be a rallycross thing on starting off, and then in the middle we will have the World of Outlaw super late model, the dirt car, of course, and that is going to be a lot of fun.
That absolutely is. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. Really happy we're ending with the night with the 410 wing sprint car, as it should. But the rallycross, Randy, has been absolutely sensational, and I gotta say. It's exciting, but you know what, though? I gotta say, you've got an 18-car field here as we're watching cars do qualifying. Your time's up on the screen right now, but yeah, I gotta say, this is it is going to be a very good time with the heat racing, but for now, we still get a good 18 cars jump to that turn number 1 here at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Yeah, a lot of cars setting the grid here in the season opener. Qualifying currently underway. The top spot currently held by Vinicius Roca. Like Cam just said, 18, actually I take that back, 19 cars is what I see currently in the grid, but pole currently a 120.348, closely followed by Jamie Simone at a 120.380. So, Cam, one of the big notable points about a track like Summit Point is that a very short lap, and because of that, little times will be very tightly compressed together. You look up and down the grid right now, the entire field currently separated by 8/10.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you the strength of the Skip Barber series here on the iRacing service. The Skip Barber car, a trainer's car, but also a car where some of the very finest in all of sim racing come to ply their trade, because you know what, the racing is just that good, and you put it on a racetrack like such as this. As I'm looking at Greg Seitz as he goes by. Oh, there we go. So lap times are done, so the grid is ready to rock and roll, but I'm excited here at Summit.
So 19 cars. Going to be a nice 18-lap run here today, but before we get into racing, let's go down your starting grid here for the season opener, Season 4, week number 1. Vinicius Roca takes pole over Jamie Simone. Only a few hundredths of a second separate those two. A few more hundredths of a second back to get to Alfredo Malo R. Edwin Valerino, he's going to roll off on the 4th spot. Tuan Tron, Andrew Picario, they're going to make up that 3rd row. Justin Tipton and Greg Seitz, they sit on row number 4. Carl Dronke and Justin Smith, they round out your top 10. With Ricardo Margarita and Christopher Cash on row number 6. Francois Bollier and Mike McCormick, row 7. Tyler Hervias and Jordi Lopez Jr., row 8. Christian Capanga and Alex McKellar, row 9. And Julian Lardy, the only driver who did not set a qualifying time, will be set at the back of this 19-car field. Been an entertaining... Go ahead, Cam.
No, I was going to say, didn't put in a practice time either, so, you know, hey, that's interesting.
Well, maybe he just comes into the sessions prepared.
Just ready to go.
Yeah, it might be the case. We have some guys like that. So, currently waiting to get all the cars up on the grid. Still waiting on a few before they get out there and we go to green flag racing here in season number 1 of 2018. 2017, of course. At least, I think in most places in the world, 2017 is not yet scored complete, but any moment now, it should be. Actually, December 31st is when it will officially.
What?
Leave me alone, Kim. I know what I am doing, as we're still waiting the lights on the iRacing gantry to turn on, and then we will go to green flag racing here. Lights are on. Vinicus Roca, he heads the field, and green flag flies. We are racing here in season number 1. Roca gets a good start over Jamie Samine as well as Alfredo Malo Jr. They all go running off down into the tight corner number 1. Really the best passing opportunity on track might be right here, right now, and the fight's already on for second. That 2 machine of Alfredo Malo looks to the inside of Jamie Samine, and he gets that position. He goes to P number 2, and Simone, he might fall back another spot to Edwin Valerino.
Yeah, he most certainly will. This is a very tight left-hander here. You cannot really push yourself too far wide. Vinicius Rocha, he has to dance on the throttle, not able to get what he wants to do. And here comes Alfred Malo, potentially onto the inside as they're going to dive into the hairpins for the first time. It's a very, very steep downhill right-hander into a bowl shape to the left and then a bowl to the right. And we haven't lost anybody yet. Andrew Picario, he's getting muscled out as he's fighting with Tuan Trump. But overall, very good start here of our Skip Barber Series here on Thursday night.
Everyone getting well. It's Wednesday night.
It is Wednesday night. You almost said Wednesday.
Oh,
I correct myself Thursday. Apparently it's 2018 in Australia, by the way, but it's all right. We'll ignore that. Vinicius Rush.
I blame their drop bears as they go running down into the final corner. Roca leads over Milo, followed by Valerino, Simone, Picario, Tuan Tron, Tipton, Seitz, Dronke, and Smith. I believe that rounds out your top 10 as they run across the stripe for the first time. It is a relatively long straightaway considering the rest of the circuit, and look for Justin Tipton to maybe work that slipstream and pick up a spot. You see everyone being very, very defensive. Vinicus Roca, he's defending as well as Valo, not quite able to get to the inside of Vinicus Roca. And turn number 1, Cam, here at Summit Point, it's sort of an interesting sort of what do you do, because if you go into the inside at turn number 1, the way the corner sort of exits, you can maintain a good bit of momentum through that longer line. And if that happens, that driver has the inside groove into corner number 2. So it's one of those things of, do you try to defend low, try to defend high?
Yeah, and it's interesting because you take that right-hander, it's actually banked slightly. You can see how it's banked here, how they're going on the concrete, and then they take the right. There's more concrete. It's a bit like that where it's banked. And because of that banking, the outside actually has a pretty decent shot. It's a good exit for whomever's got the apex to 1 to get to the inner apex at 3, but don't be too surprised once the time gets ticking down, where if you see that outside comes in, somebody might still be alongside on the exit in 1 and 2, and then things get interesting on the way down to 3.
Everyone pretty much remains a single file as we come off that final corner onto the front straightaway to begin lap number 3 of 18 on the books. Roca going a little bit more defensive, trying to break that slipstream. It's not a long straightaway, so the more you can break that slipstream, the better off you are. They go running down into that first corner, and once again, Malo, I don't think quite close enough with the slipstream, but we've seen it in seasons past in these cars, Cam. They do not like being tucked up against one another and just basically in that dirty air. They lack the cool air going into those radiator inlets, and we've seen people pop motors over the course of these events. Some of these guys like Malo and some of the other drivers we've seen over the course of the past year or so, I think they're experienced and they know well about that at this point. I think being a little bit patient because of that.
And not only there, here at Summit Point, for some reason, there tends to at least be one car that always detonates an engine on a shift. Andrew Picario still in the fight. He just took a nip out of the rear of Jamie Simonet. He's not necessarily having the greatest of starts, as he's gone from 2nd to 4th after that opening lap, and a lead stretching out now for our front 3 runners. But here comes Picario. Very simple paint scheme. Just keep the car white. Keeps repair bills cheap, because that car, well, he spends it on the speed, because right now running 5th, not bad. He'll actually have a good exit here. And if Simonet doesn't push him across, he'll have the position.
Jamie pushing a little bit wide, and Andrew Picario, the man with no time to spend in the iRacing paint booth, he's going to pick up the spot. Tron tries to make it 3 wide, and they're going to. So now let's see, top side or low side or the middle. Where do you want to be into corner number 1? Picario gets the advantage, and Justin Tipton, he shoves the nose into Tron, and that turns that car around. Another driver gets involved. That was Greg Seitz. He caught a little bit of a piece of that aggressive move from Tipton there, Cam, and it all ended in tears for at least a couple guys.
Only one, actually, is, well, I see Christian Cabanca there stopped. I wonder what happened to him. As looks to me, you know what, he got some right front suspension damage after hitting Ricardo Margarita. And unfortunate for Christian Cabanca. Cabanca actually, I think, is going to be the one out of this because Jamie Simonet has restarted his machine and he's back on racing circuit. What this has done, as I see Greg Seitz, he's carrying that nose cone damage, is really packed out of the entire rear of this field up, and that's allowed the leaders to break out.
So through this final segment of the racetrack, top 3 have continued to break away. Picario and Tipton, they're still relatively close, but still the top 3, they have a several tenths of a second advantage down towards the front straight. They come run once again, and Malo, we're seeing him again not being very aggressive in the draft whatsoever. He's going to suck up to the back of Roca in that number 3 machine, and then he dips out. He gets a slight overspeed advantage and then just gets into that clean air to start cooling those inlets on the left and right hand sides on the side pods through turn number 1, and Roca a little bit wide. Malo might actually have to play his hand a little bit early here. He looks to the inside on the run through corner number 2 and up towards turn number 3. That little right hand kink is technically scored as that second corner. Into the turn number 3 they come, and Malo not quite close enough. Everyone's going to be pretty much single file from here up until they get to that front straightaway once again.
Yeah, Christopher Catch, though, in that 10th position, they have been fighting hard. They were 2 by 2 by 2 in corners 1, 2, and 3, and they look like they're going to try it again in the hairpins. As here comes Francois Bouillon, perhaps on the inside. A little bit late on the break, but no, he won't challenge. Mike McCormick is there. Ricardo Margarita is there. Julian Lardy is there. So is Jordy Lopez Jr. as Alex McKellar looks on. Good side-by-side running from these guys. One of the ERT cars facing against, I don't know what that paint scheme's team represents, but I'm sure it's one of them. So, sorry. But either way, it's a good battling at least back here.
A lot of good fights happening as Jordy Lopez Jr. able to fend off Ricardo Margarita, who is now fighting with Julian Lardy down through the final corner. They will come, and will they be able to stack themselves up? Junior's a little bit wide, and Margarita gets loose. All 3 of those guys actually all fighting with Overseer and some sort of problem as they come off that final corner. Because of that, I think Margarita is going to have Julian Lardy looking up that inside, trying to get down into corner number 1. The driver, who we did not see set a qualifying or practice time whatsoever, is now up +5, and he's trying to make it +6 as he gets the job done on Ricardo Margarita.
Yeah, so another +1 there. Of course, we got to remember there was that incident, so these are the last 3 or 4 cars running. But here comes Christopher Catch. It's a good exit off of 3. If you get a run down 3, you can actually pop to the inside through the hairpins. There's that slight right kink there, and that actually has a risk of going tire to tire. Francois Bouillon has to ride the curbs. He gets a little swervy because Cash has to back out. But now he'll come in, which this is sort of the good battling that you get here. At some point, they go wheel to wheel. And Christopher Catch looks like he'll get the position after Francois Bouillon, the Canadian.
Close fighting still up and down the field as the fight for your race lead continues to stay close. Roca continues to lead the way. Laps are starting to kick down 1/3 the distance this time by. Let's see, does Malo decide to be a little bit more aggressive with the slipstream into corner number 1? No, he ducks out early. What about 3rd place runner Edwin Valerino? He's going to stay sucking up behind the 2 machine, but he won't quite get close enough, and he breaks a little bit early, and Tipton and Picario, they're still close as well. And I think for the most part, everyone's going to be single file, but we are side by side between Lopez Jr. and McCormick. Mike McCormick, he decides to lift out of it early. He just gives that spot to Jordy Lopez Jr., move him into the top 10.
Yeah, we've still got just about 10 laps to go, 11 to go, I believe, on the timer. So the ART driver going up another position. But good battling here. In 6th position is Carl Dronke, Tyler Havas, and Justin Smith, as these guys are running fairly close. And I'm kind of surprised to not see Alfredo Malo go for the pass. I know he's trying to just save and wait and push and pressure Vinicius Rocha, perhaps expecting him to not have taken full fuel load, expecting draft. but I will suggest that at some point you got to familiarize yourself with how to defend from the lead, at least on a race-by-race basis, because every situation is different. But either way, I'm just surprised he keeps backing out. He could have the lead if he just follows the draft going through. See, he backs off a little bit here, so he's on the throttle first. But he just doesn't seem to actually get a decent exit off of corner number 10, which is surprising. The draft comes into play, though, but he just waits, and I'm not sure necessarily if I'd be okay with doing that. There he goes. He's obviously listening to the Race Spot TV broadcast. He goes to the inside, and he'll take the position.
I will say with experience that listening to Cam does not always net the best results. Thank you, Cam,
yes,
and thank you, Paul. Thank you, Cam and Paul, for your spotting assistance as they come off of corner number 2. Alfredo Malo currently holds that race lead as Roca trying to maybe look. I don't think he's looking to take the lead just yet. He's just trying to figure out how to keep Edwin behind him. Also interesting to note, the last handful of laps, quickest driver on circuit has been Justin Tipton, running in that 4th spot. And actually, Precario was the quickest last time through. So those two in 4th and 5th, they have now brought in that gap, and it is now a 5-car battle for your race lead, and those two at the back of this little train cam have been the quickest.
Yeah, that's because they've been able to use the draft. They've been working together. Certainly, they're not teammates, but you know what? Well, what the heck? Why are we going to fight for 4th position when we can fight for the win? So they will draft together. And they will work together to get to the rear of the train, and here we go. So here comes Vinicius Rocha. Will he counter immediately? He's the one to back off first, going into 10, this very long right-hander here. Everyone tends to dip their the tires in the sand. Justin Tipton, he's gone off-roading. No rallycrosses for Friday nights, my good sir. As Vinicius Rocha, he immediately, well, you know what, he had the moment. He hit the brake, and then he went out like he was going to go for the pass. So I think he's just covering from Edwin Villarino.
It is one of the as Edwin gets pushed a little bit wide. He tried to pinch Vinicius a little bit tight, was not able to do so, and because of that, he got shoved out wide, and he might lose that 3rd spot. Justin Tipton looks to the right-hand side, and if you can maintain this overlap, the outside line is good through corner number 3. That 6 machine goes through the dirt. He will move himself in to a podium position. Good aggressive move from Tipton at the one opportunity he might get, and now Precario's looking to bounce as well.
Now, he had the steer, he had the initial turn in. Unfortunately, that curbing there just shot the wheels a little unsettled. He had to back it out because you can make a pass on the outside there. I've had that happen to me. That is the only chance I have ever had, realistically, at winning a motor race in the Lotus 79. I had that taken away from me by David Williams of TNT Racing on the last lap on the outside. So I know it can be done in these cars as well. So keep an eye out for that as the laps tick down. We're going to be ticking away lap number 10 here. But Alfredo Malo, currently your leader. And I think Vinicius Rocha is just going to let him pull him around because he doesn't seem to be too interested in the draft.
It's one of those situations where the long front straightaway is hard to get away from people here because the times are so tight. So because of that, trying to fight really aggressive for the lead lap on lap may not be the best strategy. We are over halfway now, starting lap number 10 of 18. And through turn number 1, and the 5-car train is still in effect. As they run your top 5, it's Alfredo Malo who leads from Vinicius Rocha. Those two haven't changed really the entire race. They've been 1 or 2 in some sort of combination since the drop of the green flag. Justin Tipton, he runs 3rd. He has gained 4 spots this evening. Edwin Villarino runs where he started in 4th, and Angel Precario is up 1. He rounds out your top 5. Your next little battle pack, by the way, with Tyler Hervias. So we got a little bit of drama back here. Carl Drunke, he's off the racetrack on driver's left. Not sure what happened to that 14 machine. Went into the left-hander, and he actually just took way too much curb cam, high-centered that car, and Carl Drunke didn't hit a wall, but that's going to move him down a few spots and lose him a lot of time.
Yeah, well, that would have gotten them points in Tony Hawk's Underground Skater, but unfortunately,
that may have been a special move.
Yes, perhaps. No, it was just a 50-50 with the car. I mean, I guess that's impressive that it's a race car, but either way, good car control that he didn't throw it out into the trees, which, by the way, if you look, talk about this being a club circuit. If you look to your left and right, yes, those are actual trees. But either way, battle for the lead going into corner number 1. Vinicius Rocha looks like he has it. Alfredo Malo will probably just let it happen, but what will Justin Tipton do?
Into corner number 1, that 2 machine. Oh, a little bit late on the brakes, and he actually puts the left rear onto the dirt. That's going to give up the 3rd position for sure. Will he come under attack for that 3rd spot, though? Edwin Villarino does not get a good run, luckily for Mr. Alfredo Malo. So because of that, he should hold on to the podium spot for now. But we now have the two teammates running 1 and 2. Vinicius Roca from Justin Tipton. We've seen Tipton be very, very aggressive up to this point, gaining these 5 spots to get himself onto the second step of the podium. How aggressive, though, is he willing to be with his teammate of Roca?
As aggressive as you can imagine, because it is, of course, the Skip Barber Race Series Race 1. And there's
we lost the motor.
Yep, there's an engine. I said it was going to happen at some point. Edwin Valerino, well, he was having a good day, but the pack of 4 is now gone down to 1. Is now down 1.
So apparently up in the Northeast where Cam resides, 4 minus 1 is 1. I think that's how you. That's basically how you get to the Super Dirt Car formula, pretty much. But I'm not actually sure what happened to Edwin, because that was late enough in the corner that I don't know if that would have been a downshift. That actually might have just been temperatures, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Might have got a hit in back too.
Yeah, it could have been that as well, but how will these guys be responding? Because we've seen several times over the past 3 quarters or so of a year that people in long slipstream situations, we saw it at Okayama in season number 2, is the first time we saw it, that people who have spent a long time sucked up underneath one another in the draft tended to start pumping motors, and has carried on up until this point. So I think you're going to see the top few spots, Cam, at least for the next handful of laps, they're going to be very, very patient with that slipstream, ensuring that they can at least make it to the end of this one.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't normally see temperatures detonating engines, at least in the 2K series, but I'm not quite sure. The temperature, though, is pretty hot, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 94-degree track temperature. Vinicius Rocha, though, he's still in the lead right now. Justin Tipton covering with Alfred Malo and Andrew Picario. But either way, it's interesting now, because you can just see how massive of a gap your front 4 have over the rest of the cars. You basically have this battle between Tyler Hervias and Justin Smith, and then that's really about it for the rest of the field, unfortunately. But you know what? As we take these laps away, this front 4 is going to be definitely a good battle.
Definitely is, and they're going to be the ones, as Cam just said, that we have to watch. Most everyone up and down the field separated by a second or so amongst one another. There's a couple close fights, but really not much giving up there. Battle for the race lead gets pretty calm. Everyone staggers themselves down the front straightaway, getting some clean air. Going to be 5 laps to go next time across the stripe as they come through corner number 1. Roca trying to break away from his teammate any way he can, and he's also trying to spread out from Alfredo Malo and Andrew Picario. Picario's a little bit far back, Cam, and he's sort of in that awkward position where you're not really getting quite enough of the slipstream to be able to reel those 3 in front of you in.
Yeah, and I'm noticing these guys are really starting to cover their corners, which has the inadvertent effect of really striking these curbs. Now, these curbs, they're not, sleeping policeman Circuit of the America type, shoot you into a mean curbs. These are just, regular curbs like they're supposed to be, where you can see how it unsettles the car. You got to blip the throttle and recover the machine. But with how aggressive that they're starting to really bite these curbs, almost like a touring car or a V8 supercar, I gotta imagine one of these points they're gonna unsettle that car a little bit too much, and that's gonna allow the competitor behind to get onto the attack. You can see just how much mechanical grip we have to throw through corner number 10. They go down the straight one more time.
Down the front straightaway, and 5 laps to go here. 5 laps from the white flag is what I was going to say, and the fight for the race lead is going to change. Justin Tipton goes to the inside of Roca, and Roca's not even going to fight him for it. So move Justin Tipton up into that first spot, move Roca down 1. Malo and Picario, they stay line of stern in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, and it's pretty straightforward. I think Vinicius Rocha, perhaps he was a little light on the fuel expecting the draft, and well, there it's been for the last probably 8 or so laps. Justin Tipton, now it's his turn to lead as Picario goes well off-roading as well. And we'll see what happens here. Now, will Vinicius Rocha just cover for against Alfredo Moore, or will he go on the counter to Justin Tipton? So it's interesting to see what exactly he is going to do, and how progressive for Alfredo Malo. I mean, at some point, he's going to have to be able to close back up to Vinicius Rocha. And where does Andrew Picario come in all this? Because at some point, though, he is going to move.
So down into the final corner, going to be 4 laps to go. How is Roca going to play this? as they come down on this front straightaway. Off the final corner they come, and Precario's actually done a good job to reel in these two. I said that he's in sort of a difficult position trying to reel those three in, and he's pretty much done so. Roca pulls out of the slipstream early. I'm surprised Malo, with as patient as he was, he now gets behind Roca, and he's going to try to use the slipstream of Tipton to get around that number 3 machine. Not quite able to do it, though. Maybe a little bit too patient, but Roca shoves that up the inside of his teammate, but no given just yet. Nowhere to go for Malo either. The two teammates, you can tell, Cam, working together really well.
Yeah, and Vinicius Rocha, though, he had a pretty bad entry into that, and on the exit, Alfredo Malo, he had the chance to counter, but obviously Rocha saw that coming, and Precario was expecting to go with him. They had a little bit of a gridlock traffic jam, bumper to bumper, but no damages so far, I would have to say. But looking at Alfredo Malo, I mean, at some point he's going to have to pressure the subject. He was he backed out of that way early. He could have chased. I mean, perhaps he's a little bit worried. You know, during this race he has dropped a wheel, but he can certainly pressure on the outside a lot more.
So, down into the final corner, once again, these two will roll. And I think the TT teammates, Cam, I think they're just going to be keen to work together on the front straightaway. They will come once again. Tipton pushes a little bit wide, and I think Roca, again, yes, he goes to driver's right. Malo's going to be more aggressive with the slipstream, but he's lost time. And you see Roca, he gets back in behind his teammate to try to manage that gap as well and make it so Malo can't just close up and potentially make it 2 for 1. So into corner number 1 with 3 laps remaining, they all remain line astern from Tipton to Roca to Malo to Precario.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that right now, if you're the leader, you do not want to be the leader. You want to lead on the final lap, which means that on this lap, one of these cars are going to have to, I don't want to say give up the lead, but you basically need to set it up so you can slipstream going into corner number 1 on the last lap. You cannot win a drag race here at Summit Point unless that leader completely botches the exit of corner number 10. So it's going to be very interesting as they work their way through the hairpins one more time.
Tight section of the racetrack here, pretty much single file through this entire middle sector. Although that said, Tipton takes an interesting line through there, much tighter at that little right-hand kink than the other 3 running behind him. Up through now corner number 9 down this penultimate straightaway. This is one of the chances for Roca to reel in the gap to his teammate. You see, once again, he pulls out the driver's right, still getting nice, clean, cool air into those inlets in the side pod. Through the final corner they come once again, and I expect Roca, he goes to driver's right, and Malo's going to be aggressive with it, and Precario's going to try to follow him through. Malo's trying to use right now the slipstream to reel in Roca and then get into the slipstream of Tipton, but Roca's having none of it. He's going to maintain the gap as they go into corner number 1. 2 more laps to go, Cam, and really one good opportunity for Malo, who tries to shove the nose inside of Vinicius Roca, but not quite able to do so, and that's going to open up the gap ever so slightly for Tipton.
Yeah, but he let Vinicius Rocha know, hey, I'm getting ready to use this chrome front wing aerodynamic device as a horn, because he already took a lovely little bite out of the right rear of Vinicius Rocha. I mean, it's allowed Justin Tipton a little bit of a gap, but if he needs to go, he needs to go. So for Tipton, he has got, 2/10 at the line as they're going through. But look at how much the field, these 3 other cars close up on him in this section. This section, perhaps not his fastest, but either way, we'll get a good run down here. We'll see what happens. For Precario, I think the time has passed. I think he's just going to be a passenger for this battle for the lead in the last lap, which is upcoming.
Down this short straightaway leading into corner number 10, the 3 machine of Roca. A little bit of clean air, but this is going to be his last opportunity. If he wants to win this race, he needs to use the slipstream right here, right now. If he goes to the right, he's essentially giving the win to his teammate Justin Tipton, but he doesn't. He stays in the slipstream of that number 6 machine down this long front straightaway. Tipton goes defensive on the right-hand side, and here comes Roca on the top side. We know that this top move can work, but can Roca make it work? Through corner number 1 and toward the little right-hand kink at 2. Roca maintains a slight overlap and has the inside groove, but Tipton has a good amount of momentum running off into this 3rd corner. Through now, in towards the left-hander. Quick dab of the brake, throw the car onto the left. Who's going to be able to make it stick? Roca on the inside. Tipton not able to maintain the momentum. 3rd place, Amalo. He's going to close up, and Precario's there as well. They're side by side for 3rd, 2 by 2 into this little right-hand kink. Single file section, and they got to do it. Line astern. turn through the left-hander Precario, making 2 cars on this final lap. He's up into the second. Does he have somehow, some way to make the move on Vinicius Roca through this tight infield section for the final time? Roca maintains the race lead. Tipton's gone from first to third, and Precario from fourth to second. And all the while, Malo's sitting there and is like, how did I end up losing this out of everyone? Down now towards the final corner. Vinicius Roca has stretched a gap, and he's going to come through corner number 10 and win the season opener here at Summit Point. One driver pushes off way wide, just Justin Tipton, but he'll maintain enough momentum, and Andrew Precario, he will somehow, Cam, take home P number 2.
Yeah, the elbows came out just enough. That's what we like to see. We did see some contact, but nothing that took the cars out. Vinicius Roca, he is going to go down and exit the circuit immediately. He's not even going to pick up the trophy. But either way, great racing from those 3 guys. As they did a wonderful job. Rest of the cars coming across right now. Had a bit of a drag race between Justin Smith and Tyler Javius, but for the most part, though, pretty straightforward finish.
So with that, we will go down your post-race results from the season open here at Summit Point. Vinicius Roca, pole to pole for him. Andrew Precario in a second. What a run on that final lap to make it 2 cars in that single lap. Justin Tipton, he will finish in third, and Alfredo Malo will somehow, some way, trying to be scratching his head, figuring out what happened on that final lap, that everyone pretty much picked up spots except for him. Justin Smith will round out your top 5. Tyler Herbias will be in 6th. Carl Drunk is 7th. Jordy Lopez Jr. 8th. Ricardo Margarita 9th. And Christopher Catt will round out your top 10. Julian Lardy, Alex McKellar, Mike McCormick, Tuan Tron, Greg Seitz, Francois Bouillon, Jamie Simone, Edwin Ballerino, and Christian Capanga will round out the grid tonight. If you're not done watching iRacing content just yet, you don't have to be. Join us in a couple of moments' time as myself, Jake Blackall, and Hugo Louis take on the penultimate round of the Raven Graphics and eSpeed Contender Series, and that's going to be the 200-miler at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the final round of the round of 8, and we will decide which 4 drivers will go to Homestead Miami Speedway to duke it out for the championship in 7 days' time. If you're not liking that, join us on Friday for Dirt Night here as we have the Rallycross cars, the World of Outlaw late models, and the World of Outlaw 410 winged sprint cars coming at you Friday evening. Until then, see you next time. Bye-bye.